Well, hello. You are listening to Imaginary Friends, the podcast. I am one of your hosts, Bree Smith, and as usual, I am with the lovely Erin Wainwright.
Aw, thanks. And hello.
Do you like camping or D&D? How about making more Disney? Won't be bored, we can guarantee. At Imaginary Friends.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Imaginary Friends, the podcast. I hope you're having a lovely day. We're having a pretty good day here. There was a little bit of rain earlier, but it's getting better. It's sunny outside, which makes my spirits lift and soar. So, today for you, we're going to have an awesome D&D update, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing in our lives at the moment. Just a little bit of update for you. And then we're going to have our usual segments: favorite thing, weekly wisdom, positive spin. Yeah. So, Bree, tell us about D&D this week.
So it was my very first game of the new campaign, and it's funny. I actually want you to tell us about the D&D game because I want to hear it from a player and not the DM.
Oh, okay. Sure. So my character is a gnome and I live in a gnome village and I'm magical. I'm a sorcerer and I have recently, well, in the last year, I found a friend who's John's character. What is he again? What is he called?
Argrath.
Argrath. Not his name, his
Oh,
race.
he's a Goliath, which is like
Goliath.
a half giant.
That's right. So he's living actually with all of us little gnomes, and he's been helping out over the past year, and we're good buddies. And then like a week ago ish, 2 weeks or something, we found Josie's character, whose name is Saminari,
Hmm.
and she was a sailor, and she's kind of like really a little bit weird, I think. But anyway, and we're all together, and we're in this place where there's three suns, and we're coming up to a time when there's going to be no sun for 6 days. And that's going to be very dangerous. It's when all the monsters come out. But everyone celebrates because it's the beginning of the new year. So, and we've been safe. We've never run into monsters in the little gnome village. So that's fine. And then Jake and Krista's characters meet each other because the the god, what's her name? Amaranth?
Amaranth.
Amaranth.
Yeah.
She has given them some like wisdom or something and power, and they can sense it in each other. They did not hit it off, which I found very funny because, Jake and Krista are a couple. And yeah, it was really hilarious. Jake's character is a human.
Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
human.
they're both human. That's right. Krista is a monk, and Jake's character
A
is
paladin.
a paladin. That's right. Yeah, so they ended up finding the village, of course. And then stuff started happening, sun set too early and it was dark, and then we got attacked by some hobgoblins.
Yep.
Yep. And we annihilated them, and then we told the town, and then one of the gnomes, a drunk gnome, got kidnapped. And we had to go and find him and rescue him, and then we had a battle because it was like an encampment of bad guys. And yeah, it was great. We murdered them all. It was pretty fantastic. Yeah, and it was really good. Bree said afterwards that the level of the bad guys and stuff, like the fight that we did, was supposed to cause death for us. It was like death level, but we killed them.
Yeah,
It's
it
really
was actually
great.
quite easy for you guys.
It was. I sent out like a lightning bolt. There was a row of tents, and I just like murdered them all in their tents,
Hmm.
except one.
Almost. Well, you murdered one for sure, and then the other one was mostly dead when
You
after
know
that.
what's funny, Bree? You don't tell anybody what if they pass or fail. So how it works is like if I do a spell and there's a save modifier for whoever I hit, they have to roll and they have to beat the save modifier. So mine was 15. So Bree has to roll for the bad guy. And if they fail, they take half damage. And if they pass, they take full damage, right? Bree doesn't actually tell us if they pass or fail, which I've never experienced before. All the other DMs I've had have told me. So I didn't know if all the guys in the tent were dead or not. She gave me hints. She was like, you hear, ah, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think it for me, especially if that because in this case the bad guy was out of sight, so they were
Hmm.
in this tent, and I'm like, well, you wouldn't know if it actually hit them or not hit them, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep you in the mystery of it,
Yeah,
right?
it's
So then
awesome.
your reaction isn't going to be based off, you're like, oh well, I know that they're only half dead, so I'm gonna, attack again, kind of a thing, whereas you're like, I have no idea, so your reaction is actually more natural that way.
Yeah. And then like one guy came out of the tents and she was like, Bree said, oh yeah, he's very singed. And I was like, ooh, that's the one that passed. Yeah, it
Yes.
was really fun though. I loved it. Yeah, and I guess our mission our it's the fun thing about this thing too is that I'm not really sure what we're doing. I'm not sure what
Mhm.
is happening or going to I think things are going to happen to us, which I'm very excited about. Yeah, so that was our D&D game, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Everyone
Yay.
enjoyed it. Yeah. John especially liked it. I should tell you, Bree. He loved it very
Mhm.
much. It was
Oh,
good.
yay.
Yeah.
That's always good to hear. Yeah. Well, it's also like this is an entire kind of world and lore and everything of my own creation. So, um, I'm rapidly kind of developing the lore as we kind of start creating the game. And that was something I was hoping to have a little bit of time to kind of work on while we finished up the other campaign, but um now it's just kind of forcing me to kind of hit the ground running, which is actually okay, because now I have to um it allows me to prioritize the things that are more important and more like relevant to the now,
Mhm.
um as well as I find it prevents me from oversharing stuff with the players as well. So there's actually stuff
Mm,
going on kind of behind the scenes that you guys don't know, but you shouldn't know.
right.
Like, so having you guys be a little bit naive of the situation that you're in is actually pretty nice, because just like with not telling you if somebody passes or fails, it gives you a more natural reaction to things because you don't know what's happening, and you should feel a little bit off kilter, because
Mhm.
things, I kind of set a base. I'm like, this is normal, and now we're in this area where it's like, this is not normal, and so how do you deal with that?
Yeah, right? Where my character's slowly being like, "What's going on?"
Hmm.
Is this what adventuring is supposed to be like? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
what race is Josie's character again?
She's a Kalishtar.
That's it. Yeah, so she can turn into just like like a field of stars, is that right?
Yeah, but that's actually from her. She took a druid circle that allows her to do that.
Oh, okay.
So what basically a Kalishtar is, almost like a half dream being. So it's like a very kind of unusual class. It's from I want to say Unearthed Arcana is where it originally came from. But now it's in the I think it's in the Eberron stuff. But
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was great. So, we think she's human, but something's off about her.
Mhm.
Then then she turns into like this star field or whatever, and we're all like, "What?" It was so
Exactly.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of the neat thing too, is you guys are, for the most part, starting to get to know each other as adventurers. So the things that you might not, even if you knew each other from before, you might not know what it means for them to attack and have use their powers and that kind of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
also about you guys discovering each other, which is really cool.
It is really cool. I'm
Yeah.
excited for what's coming this week.
Me too.
Nice. So guys, guess what? We are going to talk a little bit about what is happening in our lives and projects that we're doing. Bree
And how
has a
we're
really
coping.
cool one. Yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah. So, Bree, why don't you tell everyone about what you got going on?
Yeah, so this has been something that Erin and I have talked about for a little bit of time now, but you know, YouTube is pretty cool, and people like to do stuff through YouTube. So we've actually decided to create or post our podcasts on YouTube.
Mhm.
So starting with last no 2 episodes ago, so episode 20, I've started adding them onto YouTube. Unfortunately, right now we don't have like a short URL that's easy for people to find because we're still too new. But we will post the link to YouTube on the website
Yeah.
somewhere. We'll figure out a place to put it. But yeah, so if you are somebody who prefers get their content through YouTube, we've now added it on there, and it's a cool visualization, so you can see like the little equalizers as
Hmm.
we talk. So it's not too exciting, but it's pretty neat. And the reason why I kind of decided to do that now is that for my job, I actually got asked to become the quote unquote YouTube expert, which I think is kind of funny. But what's nice is that it gave me a little boost to actually get the stuff done because now I can work on podcast things and be like, oh, I'm just practicing for my work.
Which you are actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just like trying it all out first, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's cool because I've learned about things like brand channels. We have one brand channel, but you and I are both managers of it, so it doesn't get connected to just one single account. So you can actually log in with your own login and be able to uh, work with it. So I'm learning a little bit more about the ins and outs of YouTube, which is pretty neat. Because before I'm just like, I know how to upload a video, like I know how that's easy, but I didn't know how to do like cool channel setups and how to deal with that. So it's
Oh,
been
interesting.
yeah.
I didn't
So
know that either.
it was a nice it was kind of nice to learn something new, even if it was not particularly complicated.
No, but like so many people use YouTube, so it is pretty
Hmm.
handy skill to have.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. So we are the Imaginary Friends brand channel.
nice.
Again, we don't have a proper URL yet, but so if you start to follow us, I think we need like 30 followers or something on YouTube, and then we can actually get a custom URL.
Like subscribers?
Subscribers,
Oh,
thank you.
okay.
That's what those are called.
I just want to click and subscribe,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
cool. We'll have to make it a goal then to get 30 people to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I
Mhm.
also, now that we have this, I kind of want to start making videos of other things to put on
Mhm.
there,
Yeah,
and now like we could do so many, and then I could work on my video editing. Super fun, which I really want to learn how to do. Nice.
yeah. I just
Yeah.
wish that I didn't hate myself on camera because then I'd make some cool videos, but I hate the way I look
Aw.
on video.
I don't like how I look either, but what are you gonna do?
I
Someone's got
know.
to do it, right? I need a haircut. That's what I need.
Everybody needs a haircut.
Everybody needs a haircut. I know.
Just do a video of your slow spiral into insanity during COVID.
Yeah, right. It'd be about 30 seconds. That's how long it took me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Anything else that you've been working on?
I've started getting back into photography again. This was a little bit of a something that my job has been pushing me towards. So, um, I do the marketing communications for our area, but we actually have a team that does photography. But sometimes when they're super busy, because they're frequently being going out and doing filming and whatever. So my manager wants me to at least be able to kind of do photography so that we're not constantly bombarding. Be like, can you get us a photograph of this room and that room and this event and that event? So I can uh, do that on my own. And I've actually loved photography for a very long time. I've taken a few photography classes in different schools, but I've never really done much with it. It's always just been like this little hobby that I pick up and every now and then and just like, oh, I'm going to take some photos, and then I'll be like, okay, and now I'm going to put my camera away for the next 4 years and let's see what happens next.
Oh, that's cool. Do you have any what do you want to start taking pictures of? Like what kind of projects do you want to do?
Well, right now, it'll probably be mostly of my pets, of my cats, because of, not being able to socialize. But we'll see what happens. This is something that even from a personal level, I'm trying to overcome is the idea that I get a little bit shy around taking photos of people because I don't want to be it's almost like I don't want to be a nuisance, and I don't,
All
I
right.
don't want the person I'm taking a photo of to be uncomfortable, that kind of thing. So I actually get a little bit shy around taking photos of people.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, like you might take a photo and you like I might be like, oh man, this is a great photo. It's super cool. And then that person looks at it and like, can you take out my wrinkles and can you like, can we do it again but in like a different outfit? And so the idea of doing you have another opinion
Yeah.
on the other side of that as well that's going to be judging themselves, and it's not actually a criticism of your work. It's they criticize themselves,
Yeah.
but then they might not feel as comfortable with you using a photograph because they look at themselves and they're just like, oh, can you like make all these changes?
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think leaving a photo as natural as possible makes it even more beautiful.
Mhm.
So I do get very shy and a little bit nervous around that. So that's something I have to overcome.
Right. Oh, that's good then.
Hmm.
Nice. So maybe who could you take pictures of after you can see people again? Hmm. I don't know. My children.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
They don't care. That'd be a good way to warm you up.
Yeah.
Take a bunch of weirdo pictures of them. Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, I'll go
Um,
from pets to children, so those are the two things that you shouldn't work with. So then I'll be pro after that.
you'll be so pro. Yeah, yours is like the adults. You're like, no, no. I want the ones that don't care. That's good though. I think that'll be awesome. I can't wait to see the pictures that you take.
Hmm. Yeah, I just need to, um, I guess, get motivation to like get wrangle my cats into photos. 'Cause I mean, I take photos of them like at least a whole bunch of times a day anyway because I'm like, you're so cute. So I take photos on my phone, but
Yeah.
actually trying to set them up and taking like studio quality photos, I'm just like, oh, that seems like a lot of work.
Right? Especially because 'cause they're cats.
Hmm.
They're not
Hmm.
gonna wanna do what you want them to do.
Exactly, exactly. So I'm just like, I in this case, I wish my husband would let me take a photo of him, but I know he's not going to. So
I kinda guessed that. When I was like, "Who could you take a picture of?" First thing I was like, "Not Brendan. It's
yeah,
not gonna happen."
no. Especially because he very much needs a haircut.
Right? We're all in the same boat.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
he's
there'll
in
be
man.
no record of anybody during this time.
I
Everyone will,
know.
like, erase all the pictures.
I know it's man bun territory right now, so it's pretty. Yeah.
Whoa.
And he has that beautiful, like thick black Asian hair that I'm super jealous of. And so he puts it in when he like kind of I actually got him to start tying his hair back because it was getting into his face and stuff so much. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm kind of jealous of your little ponytail. Because mine is the opposite of that. I have like thin, dry
Aw.
hair. And so I'm just like, oh, I wish my hair was as lush as his.
My hair's a rat's nest. My hair's literally a rat's nest. Like, I can't comb it, wash it, do all the stuff, and then it looks nice for about 2 hours, and then it's rat's nest. Just, like, gets all tangled up because
Yeah,
it's all, like,
curly.
weird lengths.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from my weird rat's nest hair and talk about what I've been doing. So I have been, trying to update my house. That's what I've been doing with my free time lately. I have so far painted the doors. I've painted the railings, and I guess like railings and spindles. And then also, I am almost done fixing up the handrails. Blah. It's not like the most fun stuff, but it needs to get done. Next on my list is the fireplace, which I'm really nervous about doing. I'm going to take some before and after pictures, so I'll show everybody. This fireplace is like, I don't know, I need to just get it done because the longer I'm procrastinating with it, the more scary it's starting to get,
Mm.
you know? So hopefully I'll get it all finished up and then it'll look all right. It's that crazy little trick door or whatever I have to put on to cover up the switches. That's going to be bad. I know I've mentioned this before, but we had to get our fireplace replaced and they put the switches for it right on top in the wall. So I'm going to build a surround and I'm going to put a cover over top of where the light switch is, but I need to figure out a way to make it accessible, obviously. So
Mm.
some kind of trick door, I don't know,
Mm.
magnets or hinges. I'm still planning it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's super tricky. So I don't know. I bet I'm gonna waste some stuff doing mistakes, but we'll see. But anyway, I have been procrastinating, which is why a lot of things are getting painted that have should have been painted like a year ago, but I'm like, I don't want to do the fireplace yet. I'll paint some railings.
At least you're still getting it through your checklist, so that's okay.
No, it's true. It's totally true. I also, in the future, I'm going to be replacing all of the countertops for all of the cabinets in the bathrooms. There's three of them because when we moved in, I replaced the toilets and they're too tall, and they had a countertop that went over like a banjo shape and went over top where the toilets went. So the new toilets were too tall, so I had to use a jigsaw to cut off the counter, and I have never changed it. So there's like just like cut up counter with like a missing chunk. It's like really bad. So yeah, I need to take off the countertop and the sink and the faucet, and I'm going to replace all of those. Fix up the wall so it doesn't look yucky. Take out the old tile, that kind of stuff. Yeah, and they all need to be painted. So, and one bathroom actually, I took out the medicine cabinet, so I'm gonna replace that hole with a piece of I'm either gonna put in a piece of drywall and fix it, or I might put in a shelf that goes in the wall. You
Hmm.
know? Yeah,
Hmm.
I might do that for like a
Nice built
plant or
in.
candles. Yeah, built-in shelf. So that's what I've been doing. Also, I've been watching tutorials on how to do Blender, which is a 3D modeling software. It's free. So I've been learning that too, which is kind of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
You should model what you're going to do to the fireplace in Blender so that you can plan it.
Maybe. I
I
don't know
mean,
if
I'd
that's
use
the right
Fusion
one.
360 for that, but that's okay.
Yeah. Or like SketchUp. I might use Google
Hmm.
SketchUp. Or I would probably just draw it because honestly, it's so much easier just to draw it sometimes. Do you know what
True.
I mean?
It's true.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like I start out, I'll have a model. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna look just like that. And then I start making it. I'm like, no, I don't like that. You know what I mean? So then I
Yeah.
change it up as I go. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
what I've been up to for the last bit.
Nice. The only house renovations I've been doing is making houses in The Sims.
Nice. I know. That's so fun to do. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's actually right now I'm spending way more time making houses than I am like actually playing. So because I just built a new house between the day before. No, I think I started on Sunday. I started building this house on Sunday, and it's like a super modern house, and it has
Ooh.
like a palette of just black and white and red, and it
Oh,
looks
how
super cool.
80s.
I know.
Nice.
No, well, maybe I don't know, but it is very modern looking. Very, very modern looking.
Oh, we have to tell them what you did in The Sims.
Oh yes, I made Erin in the Sim.
Bree missed me, you guys. She
You know.
made a sim of me.
Well, I got the new eco life pack, which has a maker feature. So it's actually, you actually have an aspiration to become a master maker. And so I'm like, well, I have to make Erin to be the master maker. So I made a tiny house for her to live in, and she has like this huge yard that has like a giant 3D printer thing and a garden and candle making station and all this stuff. And yeah, and she's becoming a master maker. But it's funny because so this is gonna sound so stupid. So in my Sims game, my sim version, my sim of me, is a vampire who's a famous painter, and like people fawn over her and take photos of her and whatever. And then so I started playing Erin, and immediately I was like, Erin's gonna go over and we're gonna become best friends, which they are now. They're best friends. But the first time, I just remember I was like, okay, they're gonna go out somewhere and like bond kind of a thing in the game. But my character was such a douche because she kept leaving to go get her picture taken by the paparazzi.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me about that. That's awesome. Oh my god.
So it's funny because I love, I don't know why my life is so sad right now in quarantine. It's my only social interaction is through these little avatars, I guess. But I always tell Brendan about it, and I'm just like, and he's like, "Are you talking to yourself?" I'm like, "I'm yelling at Simbri because she's being a dick to Erin."
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah, but then after that encounter, Simbri just kept coming over to Sim Erin's house and hanging out. So then we became best friends. We would play cards together. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny though. So Bree, like during this whole thing, she asked me first. She's like, "Should I make a sim?" And I was like, "Do it!" So
Yeah.
she made it. It looks like me. I helped her pick out the clothes for me. It was really fun. So she's giving me updates and sending me videos. And then, you guys, the 3D printer that is in my house, it tried to kill my
It
sim. I
totally did. It totally did.
was like, "What?" Because in
Yeah.
my mind, I'm like, Sims is like nice. It's like, oh, you get to make like this nice stuff.
Oh no.
No, things kill you.
Tried to. Yeah. Because I was not expecting it because I was just like, I'm gonna have her make something, right? Because she needed to get her fabrication skill up. And so I can't even remember what I made. I think it was a dresser. And all of a sudden the little head arm thingy of the 3D printer came out, grabbed Sim Erin, dunked her in the resin or whatever it would be in that, and just, like tried to drown her. And I was like, and I was just sitting there, I'm like, what is happening? And then I think in that same session, she also Erin Sim Erin also got abducted by aliens.
I got abducted by aliens. I was like, that's rough. Oh my god, these poor
Yeah,
people that live there. They're
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
surprised they're not all holed up in bunkers.
No.
Seriously. And
Yeah.
then this is the best. This is my favorite. So we went camping. Okay,
Yes.
which I think is so great because Bree's like, I hate camping, but she sent Sim Bree out camping with my Sim. So we went camping. Then we were, playing horseshoes and doing stuff, and then we were we were fishing. And she's sending me all these pictures, and then she's like, "What's that?" In this one picture, there's a bear, but it's not like on all fours like a normal bear.
No,
It's standing.
it's a person in a bear costume.
Oh my god, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
even weirder.
yeah,
Bear was like behind us. I'm like, why is there a bear standing there?
yeah,
And then there was like a park ranger yelling at the bear, or the bear
yeah.
was yelling at the
The
park
bear was
ranger.
yelling at the park ranger.
And I'm like, what are we doing? Priest's like, my Sam won't stop fishing. She just won't stop fishing. It was like the highlight of my day. It
Yeah.
was so funny.
I didn't know what was happening because I was controlling because you can only control like one family at a time. So I was controlling Erin, Sim Erin, because I'm trying to, because my Sim has been around a long time. She's a vampire. She's like fully maxed out on like almost everything. And so I was playing Sim Erin, and of course because of that I didn't have control over Simbri. And so I was just like, okay, I'm done fishing and I'm gonna go, let's go over and play horseshoes. And then I'm like, I kept saying like play together. And then Simbri just would not stop fishing. I was like, I don't know how to get my sim to stop fishing. So I actually had to quit playing, log into the different household, and actually get Simbri to stop fishing. And then I stopped that, went back to Aaron, and then I was like, let's play horseshoes.
It's so funny. Oh, Sim Bree, because she's a vampire, she's got like kids and then grandkids and
Yeah,
stuff. And I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, have I met any of your kids or grandkids?" Bree told me that while we were playing cards at my house, one of her grandkids came over, and Sim Bree just ignored him till he went away. And I thought that was so funny because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
real life.
it's true. Absolutely. I have a brood, I guess. Because it's like because I had two human daughters. One of them I turned into a vampire. The other one I didn't because I have a whole story in my head. I'm not gonna get into because you guys are gonna be like, "Wow, you need mental help." And then they had kids, and then I ended up having twin sons who were vampires, and then they've had kids now,
Yeah,
and then
nobody's
those kids
dying,
have had
right?
kids.
Yeah.
No, because the almost I'm not gonna lie, most of the people that are in my game are vampires.
Is that so they don't die?
Yes.
Yeah. Because
Yes.
how long do they live normally?
Not very long, like, usually the aging it depends on it obviously it depends on how you play, but, like, if I'm playing for a few hours every night, usually the lifespan of one sim is about a week.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
that's
there's
it?
things that you can do to help to, like, keep them a certain age, so you can get, rewards or potions or spells or whatever to help de-age, but sometimes that's a lot of work, so I just let them go, or I just turn them into a vampire because 'cause I'm like, "You're too cool to grow old and
Yeah,
die."
right? It's so
Yeah.
much work building them up too. I would hate to
Yeah.
be like, oh, now you're just gone.
I know,
Yeah.
because I had that happen because when I was playing Sim Erin, one of my other families, the mom in the family grew old and died, and so I'm like, but she was my gardener, and I need my gardener.
Oh my god.
She had max gardening skills, and that's how I populate. So I always get all of my other Sims to go over to her house to take stuff from the garden to go put in their garden, so that I all my Sims have all the stuff that they need.
Oh, smart.
Yeah, because all my Sims are friends or are intermarried.
Do you get random Sims that just
You
appear?
do, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. So the game auto generates basically NPCs, so non-player Sims,
Hmm.
and they populate the world. And it's funny because in Sim Erin's life, the people, her neighbors, just continually come into her house non-invited, and every time I try and lock, like, because you can actually lock Sim door, like the doors to houses, and be like, don't let these people in, the game still glitches and just continually lets them in. So you'll be out gardening or doing maker, and you come and you're like, who this? Why are
Oh
there like
my,
four people in my tiny house?
what?
Yeah, so you have a lot of
Ew.
trespassers.
That's horrible. I feel really bad for my Sim.
Yeah, yeah. One of the NPC uh Sims has been like asking can you to continually to ask you for money for her entrepreneurial uh
Yikes.
business, and you have not seen very anything in return. So
Oh, so I've been giving her money.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I always cheat, and all of my Sims are like incredibly wealthy, so I just don't care. I just want to see
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. I'm more of like I'm like, oh, I've never seen this before. I'm gonna see what happens if I continue to give this this person money.
I guess that's true. Keep me updated. I'm a little
Mhm.
curious now.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
See, that's something you've been doing is playing Sims.
Oh, way too much.
Yeah. But now that I know what you're doing, it's pretty fun. I was like super invested.
It's
Bree didn't
true.
tell me anything about her for a while, and I was like, "Oh my god, she died," and Bree hasn't told me. But it turned out she just hadn't played for a bit.
No, no, I've been building houses. Building houses.
It is time for favorite thing.
Woo!
Yes. So, do you mind if I go first?
You may.
All right. So my favorite thing is banana ice cream. Because I've
Mm-hmm.
been eating it a lot. I was telling Brie about it the other day. I have this machine. It's actually it's Magic Bullet. It's from the
Hmm.
company that makes the same Magic Bullet thing. But yeah, it's this cool thing that makes banana ice cream. And I think there's witchcraft involved in it. I think somehow that's what's going on because you just take a banana that's ripe. It has to be really ripe, and then you peel it, put it in the freezer. I just put a bunch in a baggie, and then once it's frozen, you just stuff it into like it's like a grinder. You just stuff it into the top, and out comes like soft serve ice cream, but it's made entirely of banana. Like I don't understand. It's so good. Yeah, so we've been having it quite a bit because it's just a banana. Like the kids are like, "Can I have ice cream?" I'm like, "Yes, you can. Here's your banana." It's so great. Sometimes we have toppings, but I'm like, I don't care. Like the toppings that they put on their banana ice cream isn't excessive. So they're having like a little bit of treat stuff on a banana. You know what I mean? I'm okay with that. Yeah, it's super good, especially for me because I can't eat ice cream.
Hmm.
So and I've had some really gross non-dairy ice cream before, just disgusting. So this stuff is good. The texture is what I don't like a lot of the times about the non-dairy ice cream. It's like eating ice, but this is like creamy. I don't know how. So in the grinder hole, you can pour other things in too. Like sometimes I'll put in like almond butter, or I'll put in like strawberry jam first, and then you smush the banana in and it all gets ground together. Then you have strawberry ice cream, or like peanut butter ice cream, or almond ice cream, or cocoa powder. You could put that in chocolate ice cream, and it's all mixed together because it goes through this grinding process. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And because it comes out just like a soft serve ice cream machine, you can put a cone under it and twirl it. So now you have one like it's from Dairy Queen.
You need to give me where to buy that because I want it now. Because
It's
I mean I'm a huge banana fan to begin with, but banana ice cream sounds amazing.
it is amazing. And like It's still a banana, so it tastes like a banana, but because
which
it's
is awesome.
frozen, yeah. I mean, if you hated bananas, this probably isn't the thing for you, but it doesn't the banana taste isn't overpowering, right? And
Mhm.
when you stick the other things in there with it, it's so good, you guys. And like good for you, you know what I mean? So yeah, you get your ice cream fix in a
Nice.
good way. Yeah, I will. I'll put it in the show notes so that everybody can go. I know there's like what's the one that everybody was getting?
Yo Nana.
Yonana, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But this was just small, I just pop it in my cupboard. It's tiny. Yeah, nice and simple. Stuff the banana in the hole, push a thing down the hole, out comes the ice cream stuff. That's all you do. Anyway, that's, yeah, that's my favorite thing for this week.
All right, so my favorite thing this week is Humble Bundle. So if you don't know what Humble Bundle is,
I don't.
it's more for gamers, both video gamers and tabletop gamers. But it's something that you know is around all the time, but every month or every half a month or whatever, they put up new bundles, and generally the ones they're called pay what you want. So you get a list of all the things in the bundle, and depending on how much you pay, you unlock different levels. So just recently I did one for a whole bunch of video games and ebooks, and this was actually for the Black Lives Matter movement. They had a huge selection from different companies putting stuff on there, and all of the proceeds went to different organizations in support of Black Lives Matter. And um and it was cool because it wasn't just video games. So there are a bunch of video games, and most of them I'm not even going to probably ever use, because they're just like small indie games. I got BioShock remastered though, and that makes me super excited because I love BioShock. But the other cool thing about it was that it had these video games. It had some stuff for role playing, so it had like a role playing system, like source book that was part of the bundle, and then it had a whole bunch of ebooks that you could get, that were again kind of around the Black Lives Matter movement. So they were either stories relating to kind of Black heritage, or they were by Black authors. So it's kind of cool because you got them all kind of bundled together. But the thing I love about Humble Bundle is that if you normally can't afford these things as individual items, again, it's pay what you can eventually, or essentially. So
What?
yeah. So for example, I got probably, I think it was like 75 things for $40.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they do have tiers. So if you pay like, I think the first tier is always like $1.50, you usually get a couple things, and then it goes up, and then you get a couple more things. And so they have different tiers, and depending on how much you decide to pay, you get to unlock those tiers, but it's always way, way, way less than what you would get if you bought them individually. So even if there's a bunch of things that you don't want, the idea that I paid $40, and that's less than the one game that I wanted, and I ended up getting a whole bunch of other stuff that I think are really cool. So a couple other games that I want to try out, plus these books that I want to check out. Um, all kind of together, and they do a monthly subscription, but it's a kind of a mystery on what you're going to get. So you could pay for a bundle per month, and then they kind of give you 10 plus games, and then you get to pick which ones that you want out of that list of games. Yeah, but it's really cool. But we've gotten like I've gotten tons of stuff out of there. So I got for tabletop games, I got 3D model terrain, and it was like it
What?
ended up being like, I think like 40 or 50 3D files from different people, and it was like dirt cheap, like super dirt cheap,
Holy
to do that.
cow.
So if you have not checked out Humble Bundle, I highly recommend it because you can end up getting some amazing deals. And a lot of the times, the things that they're doing actually benefit some nonprofit or charity organization. So definitely check it out, because that's how I ended up finding the one for the Black Lives Matter movement, is because I think I was looking at something else because Brennan had showed me something else. I think it was a D&D related thing, and then I found that, and I was like, I'd rather put my money towards something that's going to benefit a cause that I believe in versus just going and getting something that's a little bit more frivolous. So I put my money towards that. And even though, again, I'd say that 80% of the things that I got in that bundle I'm never going to probably use, but there was a few things in there that I'm like, yeah, I'm still getting it at a huge discount. So I had
Right.
no issue.
So, the content of what they're selling is mostly like gaming stuff?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so and the ebooks are like like that genre as well, like kind of like
No,
gaming stuff?
no, it's
Okay.
really a hodgepodge. So the books that came with the bundle I got were all again either nonfiction or they were fiction written by Black authors. So it really depends on what companies want to throw stuff on Humble Bundle. The majority of it is video games through Steam, but you can go and find a bunch of stuff that is completely unrelated to video games or gaming, but it is very rare.
Oh, okay. Cool, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I never
definitely check
even
it out.
heard of that, that's great.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's something that like I know about, but I always forget to check because I just don't think about it. So usually Brendan discovers something and he's like, "Oh, you need to go check this out," and then I usually throw whatever the mid tier is or depending on the deal. So yeah,
Nice. We'll
yeah,
put, a link for that, I guess, in the show notes?
yeah, yeah,
Nice, right next to the banana ice cream machine,
yeah. You get some ice cream and video games.
right? It's
Yeah.
life right there, my friend. Shall we talk a little bit about our weekly wisdom for this week?
Sure.
Okay, why don't you go first this time?
Okay, so my weekly wisdom this week is not going to be like, a tidbit of wisdom. It's not going to be like something that you can narrow into one sentence.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
So yesterday, I discovered something called object permanence or object consistency. And so the idea of this is that we as humans should have the ability that, if an object exists and you can't see it, you still know that it exists. You're still
Yeah.
aware that this thing exists, and that's a common thing.
Is
You
that
know,
that thing
and
about
and
putting a thing in a box and you close it and you don't know if it's really there, that thing?
yeah, so it's Schrodinger's cat kind of a thing, but it's but
Yeah.
it's that's something that we learn when we're really young is the idea that you can take an object and put it somewhere else, but you know that it exists somewhere in reality. But I lack that.
What? How can you lack that?
So and not completely, like I still understand that things exist, but my brain um doesn't consider it to be important. So I actually have ADHD. Um, but I grew up in the 80s and 90s where that was not a thing that you knew about. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I kind of realized that I had it. But I didn't realize that this was something that was a part of it. So, as somebody with ADHD, what happens is that when something goes away, my brain basically just ignores it. It's just like
Oh.
I if I consciously think about it, I know it exists, but innately I don't see it as existing anymore. So things like if something goes in the fridge, like my one of my biggest issues which which my husband complains about is that he's like, you have food in the fridge that needs to be eaten. I was like, "Oh yeah, I do." But my problem is that the moment it goes behind a closed door, I don't even acknowledge it anymore.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Same thing with like I work in organized chaos. Like I work in piles because the moment something goes in a drawer, I forget it's there. It's an immediate effect where it's just like it disappears from my brain. And so this is from something that the lack of having object permanency or object consistency. But the thing that where it extends to, which is actually pretty harmful, is in my relationships because I have a problem and I'm getting to the wisdom out of this in just a little bit, but I have to give you the the story
Context? Yeah.
context. Thank you. Um, so when it comes to relationships, this includes my family, this includes my friends, is that if I don't see you, I don't remember you exist.
Right. It's
So
it's not that important.
it's not that important. So, I am not going to be the one to text you. I'm not going to be the one to reach out and want to do things because if you aren't in my immediate attention, I just don't recognize the fact that you are still there or that
Right.
that person is still there. So, I am really prone to things like I've every time I move, the people that exist that were my friends before that gone. Like I don't miss them. I don't have any like
Oh my
feelings toward the
goodness.
fact that I'm not their friend anymore. They're just gone because my brain is
Oh,
just like that. Nope, just threw it away. And so
right.
the friendships that I have maintained are the people that have remained consistent in my purview. So, like Erin, you're really good at contacting me and texting me and getting me into these interactions. Whereas unfortunately some of my other friends, they're just like they don't kind of instigate that kind of a thing. And so, unfortunately, the problem is that with my relationships, because my brain automatically discards it,
Right.
I cannot talk to people for like months. And then somebody will be like, "Hey, have you talked to so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I should probably talk to that person." And this includes my mom, my dad,
Oh,
my brother. But the thing, so this is the wisdom out of it though, is that I spent until yesterday, I basically felt terrible about this because I'm like, there's something wrong with me. Like either I'm a bad person or I'm callous or something. But knowing that this is a symptom of basically a mental disability means that it's not something I can control. It's just something
right.
that my brain does. And unfortunately, it does affect relationships, but I have put in and I'm trying to put in coping mechanisms to
Yeah.
help with that. So if you are somebody who, sees that kind of pattern in their life, just know that it isn't because you are a bad person or it isn't because you don't care about these people. It's just because that the moment something leaves your viewpoint, your view, unfortunately, your brain just puts that into the back of your mind and forgets about it. So
Right.
you might have a harder time with relationships, and that's always been my case. Is I have a really tough time with relationships because I am never going to be the person to remember to contact somebody.
It's good, I guess, that you know, because you're right.
Mhm.
You can be like, hey, I'm not going to remember to contact this person. So I can make an effort. I could write a post
Exactly.
it. I'll make an
Exactly.
effort to do
Yeah.
it because otherwise I won't. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what I do. Like the bottom of my monitors in my room are covered in post-it notes, not only of things of like, like contact so and so or whatever. When somebody's birthday comes up, I have to put a notification on my calendar to remind me to message that person on their birthday. Or else again, it I might even just forget what day it is, kind of a thing, because it's not something that's in my focus. So I do put in a lot of coping mechanisms to help me, and also I always kind of put it up to I just have a really bad memory. I'm just like, oh, I forget a lot of things, so I just have a really bad memory. But it's all part of that same symptom of not having the same kind of object consistency in my life, because again, it just my brain can't handle remembering all that stuff.
Right. Oh, crazy. Hey,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah.
Oh, I'm
So it
glad
was
you
weird.
found that out.
Yeah, and it was funny because I saw this video, it was a video, and it was just like things about ADHD that you didn't know, and it immediately changed my view on the way that I think of these habits of mine that I get into.
Mhm.
Because I know that it's a problem, but I always am like, it's just because I'm forgetful, or it's just because I'm a bad person or a bad friend, and I'm like, nope, it's just my brain is wired different.
Yeah, that's amazing actually. That's
Yeah.
good. Aw. Well, now I know. I'm gonna make sure to send you messages often then.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that like especially right now being, um, in the situation where we're all in our own houses, I think that's even more difficult because at least you and I were working in the same building, and I could go down and visit you And that was really awesome. But now that we're separated, it has to be, you have to make the effort to
Mm-hmm.
get in touch with people, and that's why I love this podcast, because it does keep me in touch with Erin, so I know not to file her away, because that
I
would
just
be
keep
very, very
popping up.
sad. Yeah,
I keep coming up
exactly.
front.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But again, if I look at the history of my relationships, again, including family, I am I do have a tendency to find the cut and run solution really easy, because even though it's like, yes, I really care about that person, I would say that I love them as a friend, but the moment that you don't exist to me, then it's really easy to me to be like, okay, that was over. Let's move on.
I think I remember you a long time ago saying something to me like that, that you don't miss people. I think
I
it was
don't.
something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Now I was like, oh.
I don't. And that's the thing is like, it's a very strange thing, because people are like, oh, I miss so and so, or I miss this, and I'm just like, there's very few people in my life that I miss, but they're the people that are consistent.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like
Aw.
when Brendan goes away, I miss him because I know my life is different because he's not in the house.
Yeah.
So that's a very apparent emptiness that I miss. I miss his presence. I miss being able to go down and visit Erin, because that was something that was almost like a routine
Hmm.
daily. So it's like I miss her, but unfortunately, like, my mom is somebody that I don't interact with very often, so I don't really miss my mom. Like, I know she's there, but I don't really find a motivation to like make an effort to go and kind of get in touch with her. Whereas, Brendan will come up and be like, "Have you talked to your mom lately?" I'm like, I guess I should do that.
And I bet that when you actually do see her, you
Mhm.
enjoy spending
I
time with
do.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right?
Yeah. But again, from where I am sitting right now, it doesn't bother me that I don't communicate with them, with
Right.
with my family as much as I probably should.
Hmm. Well, it's all right. Now that we know, we'll work on it. It'll be
Exactly.
good.
Sorry, that was a very long weekly wisdom, but I just
Oh,
wanted to, again, if anybody relates to anything that I've said, it's
yeah.
just because your brain is wired differently. It's not because
Yeah.
that you are a bad person or anything like that. It's just your brain is wired differently, and unfortunately, relationships are maybe a little bit more challenging.
It's true. That's great, I think.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because my weekly wisdom is about making lists.
I love lists.
I know, right? I've spent a lot of my life being overly busy. And also then I spend a lot of my life feeling extremely overwhelmed. But I found if you make a list and you have everything you need to do in it, it helps so much because then instead of it being a huge blob of whatever in front
Mhm,
of you, and then you're like, no, I can't do it. It's too much. I can't. And you do nothing. You can just take little focus on parts of it,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
And it makes it so much easier. And also, I'm not going to lie, I forget to do things if it isn't written down, all the time. So making a list really helps me. I started using a planner, like I think about 4 years ago, and that's helped me immensely. It's kind of becoming an issue though, because I have a planner for like stuff at home, I have a planner for work, and I have a planner for like the imaginary friend stuff. So I have
mhm.
3 planners. So I probably should try to consolidate. I'll just need like a really fat planner. But it's really helpful to me because in the morning I have a routine where I sit and I look at what I'm going to do and I write down all the stuff like the to-do list or like sometimes because I meal plan, I'll have something the next day that requires me to make chicken broth the day before, right? So I need to be organized with that stuff. Otherwise, that meal won't happen and then it's like throws everything into chaos, you know? The kids especially like with them, normally they have like extracurriculars. We have to be super organized with that. At one point Jack had like swimming lessons, baseball and soccer all at the same time. That was crazy. And we only have one vehicle, so we really had to like plan it out. But making lists and writing things down is a huge help. And look, it's going to help Bree with her thing too.
Oh, I like going back to the post-it notes at the bottom of my screen, I have like a to-do list here. I have a to-do list for the to-do list that refers to the other thing. I have like, because it'll be like, here's my master to-do list, and then I'll break down, and then I'll put other, and then again, like you said, you break it down into smaller, more manageable chunks so that it doesn't
Hmm.
feel as overwhelming.
Yeah,
And that helps so much. And Google Calendar is a godsend
it's
for stuff
true.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I do write everything down. I've tried doing everything in calendars
Mhm.
and doing, but it's too, but it's, I don't know what it is. It's maybe the fact that I have to like then get at the computer and do it that
Mhm.
way. Even having it on my phone didn't work. I don't know if it's too small or what,
Yeah.
but having something, writing it down and being able to flip through the pages and stuff, crossing things out really helps me a
Mhm.
lot to be organized.
I feel
And
that.
be yeah, and what I'll do is I'll write down, I'll be like, "Okay, today I'm gonna do these things." And then what I can do is the next day I'll be like, what didn't I get done yesterday?" And I'll look and I'll forward those.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? But then I'll have new things. So then the list starts to get longer, and then I'm like, "Oh, no slacking off today." Now I've got 7 things. I should only
Yeah.
have 5 things.
Yeah.
That really helps too.
Yeah. I did try for a long time to do to-do lists digitally, because I felt bad about the amount of paper that I was using for my lists, because I make a list almost every day, for what I need to remember. Um, but I found, like, yeah, like you said, I just found digitally, it almost felt like I almost needed a to-do list to make me look at my to-do list.
Yeah, I don't know why,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, Erin, if you're the same way. I actually find that if I handwrite something, I am more likely to remember it than if I type it
Yes.
out.
Absolutely. Totally. I've done it. I've written out the whole list. Like my iPhone has like the whole list thing in it, a to-do list thing, right?
Mhm.
No, it didn't work for me at all. I have to it's so much better if I write it out. I don't know because then I have to think about it. I have to like because if I write it in the wrong space, it's not good. So I have to plan out everything. I don't know. And also my planner lasts for the whole year,
Yeah.
so they're all right. They also have like, I put like new passwords in it. I don't know if I should tell people that I put passwords in things, but I do so I can, have a place to refer because I have
Yeah.
so many different passwords. What else do I put in there? Like so every year I rewrite birthdays. I put
Mhm.
everybody's birthday and that includes like my sisters, their spouses, their children, which is a lot. So that way, every year it reminds me, gives me a new, fresh look at all the birthdays. So then
Mhm.
I kind of, I'm like, oh, it's, June. Oh, that's right. I have a niece and a nephew who have the same birthday in June, and I remember it. I don't know. I just really like it. I also use it, for the school stuff. So like the kids go to school, they give us their calendar. I put the whole thing into my planner. So then when I get to that day, I'm like, oh, the kids don't have school on this Friday. Oh my God. You know how many times before I started doing this, I was like, oh no. And like I take them to school and the doors are locked. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? I have to go to work. Yeah. So it's good.
No,
I didn't,
this
I figured it out. I didn't like abandon my children, I promise.
Keep yourself busy. They'll
Yeah.
be back.
Just stuff them under the desk. It's fine. We're moving on to positive spin. So, this week's positive spin is neighbors.
Mhm.
Haha, because positive spin is something that you find mildly annoying, and I think neighbors sometimes fall into that category.
Oh, yes.
I have a great neighbor on one side and a less than great neighbor on the other side.
Mhm. Mhm.
My less than great neighbor moved in a little while ago, a year ago, I think. And the police have been to their house many times, at least 5 since they've moved in. And yeah, there's just stuff like, the sidewalk will be like in the winter is like super icy and gross and they don't clear it. And they have a crazy dog, or they had, it's gone now. It bit my other neighbor and their dog, and they needed like 16 stitches. Yeah, so they came and I think they took the dog away. I'm not sure what happened there. But stuff like that. Recently, most of the time, like we don't, talk or anything, so that's fine. But oh, when they very first moved in, a car pulled up with some guys in it, and my neighbor, the the husband came out and he got in the car and then they all started like hitting each other on my front lawn. and the guy pulled like a skateboard out of the car, started beating up the other guy, and yeah, that was one of the times the police came, so that was great. And, like, I don't live in a bad neighborhood, like, most of the time, all you see outside are, like, seniors taking walks, like, I live in a really nice neighborhood full of seniors. So, recently, I was outside reading a book, and I could hear they have 2 kids, a girl and a boy, and they're pretty young. I think the son is about 3 or 4, and he was, like, taunting his sister. I couldn't understand what her name was. It was, like, Sarah or Sasha or something like that. But anyway, he was yelling out like, "Sasha is a penis. Sasha is an asshole." And then some racial stuff, which I was like, "Oh my god." like, like obviously he doesn't know what he's saying, but he hears it from somewhere, right? So yeah, I was like, nothing but class over here in this neighborhood. Yeah, so that's my bad stuff about neighbors so
Mhm.
far.
So your neighbors are bad for a much different reason than mine. Mine are not at all like that. So just like you, I do have neighbors I'm not a big fan of, and neighbors I think are absolutely adorable and are
Mhm.
kind of awesome. On the other side, so the people that we don't enjoy are I like to call them the privileged white family who have spent thousands of dollars on their backyard and are really particular about stuff. And they have their garage has been retrofitted into a hangout area where they just smoke and invite their friends. And every weekend, from about 8 o'clock to about so probably for 12 hours from I'd say like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. They are listening to the loudest country or old rock. So our basically from our house, you can just hear like the bass coming from the music
Oh,
because they have parties every weekend. And during the summer, they have a kind of a smoke pit in their backyard, and our house constantly smells like fire because they're either from the smoke from smoking in their garage or from their fire pit in the backyard. So
gross.
I got the first time I smelled it, I got freaked out because I thought my house was on fire, and then I'm like, oh no, it's just their fire pit because it's coming in through our vents and stuff. And then on top of that, they feel that they need to call the bylaw officer on everybody in the neighborhood for things like, oh, your weeds are too tall. Oh, it snowed last night, but it's now the morning. And I know you've been sleeping this whole time, but I'm going to call the bylaw officer because you haven't shoveled your sidewalk yet.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Like we've had the bylaw officer come by so many times because, we're just not as like, on top of things as they are. Yeah.
Uh, you know
But
what?
oh,
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but exactly, positive spin time.
Yeah,
Like sometimes neighbors are fantastic.
absolutely. Yeah.
My other neighbors, I love them. They're older and they're snowbirds, so they go to like Arizona, I think, for winter. But they're really nice, and almost all actually this whole street is fantastic. They're really great. Everybody knows each other, and they do a back alley party every year, so we all get to like get together and talk and spend time together. Yeah, I don't know. I before my other neighbors came, I really loved living on the street. And like as bad as my other neighbors are, they're not like the end of the world bad, like the stuff that's happened with them has only been like there's a lot of time in between where I don't see them. You know what I mean? And it's fine. It's just like craziness sometimes. You never and the hard thing is that you can't pick your neighbors, you
No.
know? That's the thing that's bad about it. I mean, before they lived there were renters there, and they weren't the best, but they were way better than what's there now. But like we didn't have a say on who got to buy the house and move in.
I do appreciate like my other so very similar to yours, the neighbors on the other side are an older couple. They're probably in their 60s maybe late 50s, early 60s. They live by themselves. And it's funny. So when we first moved into this neighborhood, so we're in a brand new neighborhood. We had our house built for us and we moved in, and then we had different neighbors originally, but then they ended up selling pretty quick. So I think they just wanted to like flip the house essentially.
Mhm.
Because when we first moved in here, our value for our house skyrocketed because we had cross iron mills and all these new developments in our area. So I think people were just buying and selling as the property went up, property value went up. So that house was sold like almost right off the bat, but but it was like empty for a fair amount of time. And I just remember we kept telling our friends, it's like, okay, you can park in that driveway because nobody lives there, if they were coming over, if we had too many people coming over or whatever. And I remember one day, got a knock on the door, and they were just like, "Is that your car out in our driveway?" And I was like, "Hold on a second, somebody lives there." So this couple, this older couple, moved in very quiet. Like, no, we had zero idea anybody had lived there, or had moved in. We didn't hear them. The only evidence on a regular basis that we know that they enter and leave their house is that in the wintertime we can see the tire tracks in the
Wow.
snow.
Hey.
But other than that, they're like super quiet. We actually don't even have a fence between our yards. So my other neighbors, the bad neighbors, they put up a fence that they paid an exorbitant amount of money for and then asked us to pay for half of it. Yeah.
Oh no, you do that before you put up the
Yeah.
fence.
And we were just like, so we paid them like a little bit. We're just like, this is a reasonable amount, but because you went for like a super duper expensive fence, we are not paying for half.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but the other neighbor, we haven't even built it because we don't care. So we're just like, whatever, we don't have a fence on that side. And it's funny because they actually have family that will come over and they have grandkids, and the grandkids will like run between our two yards, and it's actually really kind of cute to watch.
Oh,
And again, it doesn't bother us, doesn't bother them. So yeah, we have this really just kind of like quiet relationship with them. But it even comes back in different ways where in the wintertime, a few times I've shoveled their sidewalk for them, because I'm like, they're a little bit older, so I'm just going to do that for them. And then like the next time it snows, they shovel my walk for me. And so it's like
exactly.
this unspoken kind of, we help each other out idea. And even though we've never actually formally met each other, because again, we're both just in our houses, really quiet, but we have this like mutual respect. And every time I do see them, I'm just like, oh, there's our neighbor. Aren't they so cute?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I know. I feel like that with most of my neighbors. That's the thing. Um, I think like my neighbor is actually kind of the not black sheep of the neighborhood, but something way worse. Like,
Yeah.
I think he's told off a few of my, and almost all of my
Oh,
neighbors are elderly. Yeah,
that
you
sucks.
know, I know. It's just, yeah, it's great. Something funny though, recently he built like a play structure really close to the fence. So, but it's higher than the fence, like way higher. So his kids will go up there and then they just stand and stare at me while I'm doing something in the yard. They'll just stare at, and then they're like, "Hi, what are you doing?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm gardening." Why? And then they just stare at me and I'm like, "Oh my god." It's like children of the corn. It's so funny. But I'm trying to think like positive stuff. Things like, so our neighbors that on the other side, which I really like, they when they go away, they come over and they'll say, we're leaving. Did you want some of these cookies that we still had? Or recently, they have a friend who gives them salmon, and they have all this extra salmon. So they're like, it's too much for us. Would you like some? And we're like, yeah, thanks so much for the salmon. Things like that. Like they're
Yeah.
really nice. And we've gotten to know each other too. Like I know the fence, which is actually getting pretty rotten. They've been like, if you want to get a new fence, we'll definitely pay for half. Just tell us what you're thinking about doing and stuff, because he built it like 20 years ago.
Oh,
Most of
wow.
the yeah, most of
Yeah.
my neighbors on the street moved into these houses when they were new in the 70s. So it's pretty cool. That's really neat. The one funny thing is, like, before we moved here, we lived in another area and we had not a direct neighbor, but two neighbors down who I'm pretty sure they were drug dealers. So, we were like, man, we gotta move out of this neighborhood. So we found this one. And then we got this guy next to us. It's kind of funny. Um, Sometimes neighbors, though, they can be bad in other ways. Like in that old house, there's a lady across the street, and if she saw us in our front yard, she would come over with her son, who was the same age as my youngest son, and she would like stand there and talk, and then she'd be like, "Oh, do you mind if I just like go to the washroom?" And then she would leave, and she wouldn't come back for like an hour. So she would like basically trick us into babysitting for free for her. Like she would just
Mm.
leave her kid at our house. So we started. I was like, I'm not going out the front anymore. She's gonna see us and she'll come and do that. So I
Mhm.
started doing all my stuff out the back door so that and I would go down the back alley so that she couldn't see us.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. I'm like, she doesn't know what we're gonna do with this kid. What if we just like left him? Of course we
Yeah.
wouldn't leave him, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
neighbors can be very weird depending on what you get. It is a roll of the dice.
it is a roll of the
Yeah.
dice. And like when we moved here, everybody was awesome. And then someone moved, and then someone moved in, right? So you never know what you're gonna
Yeah.
get. It's so hard. Some I think like the best neighbors, honestly, are like my best neighbor ever was in the old house, and he lived on the other side of us, and he was a divorced teacher, and he was like great. He didn't have visitors. He
Yeah.
was like, you know what I mean? We talked to him once in a while. He was like, I think about the fence because he wanted to replace the fence and he did it himself. And he was like very like to the point. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? He just came home from work. Sometimes he barbecued, but yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
He
that's what
probably hated us.
that's funny. 'Cause that's what we aim to be as neighbors. We're just like we just want to be left alone. Like that's all we
Mhm.
want. We're not going to get into your business. We're not going to do anything. Yeah.
I think it's just mutual respect. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and we all are living here together. We all should respect our spaces and everything. You know,
Mhm.
it's like because it's so easy to have one person who doesn't do that, who doesn't respect it, and it wrecks everybody's
Mhm.
living situation. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, pretty good. I think we talked about good and bad things about neighbors. All right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And again, I think it all just depends on who lives next door to you. And kind of going back to just one last thing. So my neighbors that kept calling the bylaw officers on us, there have been many times that we probably could have called the bylaw officer on them because of their loud music, but we never wanted to stoop that low. I didn't never wanted to escalate it.
Right.
So even if you have a dick neighbor who's doing shit to you,
Hmm.
I recommend not retaliating because that's just going to make it worse.
It does
Um,
absolutely.
so we just try to be amicable to them, even though we're seething inside. We're just like, you know what? We're gonna let it go. We're not gonna be as petty as they are, and then hopefully they'll realize that we're awesome and be cool with us.
Right. For me, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm staying far away from that situation. I want nothing to do with it.
All right. So that ends this week's episode of Imaginary Friends, the podcast. Please check out our website, imaginaryfriends.ca. You can also follow us on Instagram at imaginaryfriends.ca. And of course, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Play. And what else can they do, Erin?
That's right. You can email us at info@imaginaryfriends.ca.
Woo!
Yay!
Ready, Bree?
Nope.
Erin and Bree, Erin and Bree, creative friends set loose and free, carving out a place the way they want it to be, called imaginary friends. Do you like camping or D&D? How about making or Disney? If that sounds good, the place you wanna be is imaginary friends. Two friends who are very different and have very different views, but together cover all the bases and give you so much more to choose. So stop on by and take a look and see, and come hang out with Erin and Bree. You won't be bored, we can guarantee, at Imaginary Friends.
That was the best.